Have you ever wanted to use a keyboard and mouse with your NES or Famicom? Neither have I, but here we are anyway. This is my prototype interface which enables keyboard and mouse input for either the NES through a controller port or Famicom through the expansion port, as well as emulating some input devices. It is built on a Raspberry Pi Pico and should be compatible with the RP2350 as well. We have some logic level converters for the 5 volts to 3.3 volt conversions for most of the lines, and I use a 15-pin D-sub VGA connector for the link to the expansion port. For the NES controller port, some other connector could be used. There are 2 headers here to directly connect a PS2 keyboard and mouse, but this support is not ready at this time. I also have an I2C connection for communicating with the host device, such as a Raspberry Pi. There is a header to connect either controller port 1 data line 1 or controller port 2 data line 0, which is needed for certain devices. Up the top I have an I2C host enable jumper and 2 jumpers to set the emulation mode of the interface. Then there's just a diode so it can be powered by the console or USB without reverse powering the console, as well as a smoothing capacitor. Underneath is just a mess, don't worry about it. This is what I would call a full feature implementation. It could be made to support just a single mode if desired. Now let's take this to the console for some demonstrations. So I'm using an Orange Pi as my keyboard and mouse host, and I have it connected to my interface by I2C. The I2C host enable jumper is set, and no jumpers on the pin modes means that it is in keyboard and mouse input mode, which is a community defined standard. See video description. My test program just monitors keyboard and mouse data and draws the mouse cursor. Not very interesting. The next mode is Family Basic Keyboard Emulation, set with 1 jumper on the right pins. The test program for this is also used for Subor mode, seeing the implementations are very similar, so it is a confusing mess. The next mode is Subor emulation mode, set with 1 jumper on the left pins, and also setting the jumper for controller port 2 data line 0 for Subor mouse support. Keyboard is essentially the same as before, but now we have mouse input as well. Unfortunately, I failed to frame the keyboard camera properly, so the mouse is out of frame. What a bother. The last mode is Family Basic Keyboard and Hori Track, set with 2 jumpers on both pins, and the controller port 1 data line 1. This is a configuration that is unusual with real hardware, but could be set up. But hey, if we have Hori Track support, why not try it on a real game that supports it? US Championship V-Ball, let's go! And if we're going to use a trackball, why not an actual trackball? Mouse does, of course, work too. I'm not very good at this game yet. I think I found a bug where I'm overflowing the movement between reports. I'll need to fix that. One thing I like about the idea of this interface is that it is not limited to input devices. With some modifications to the Pico code, you could present any data you want to the console to be read by your custom program. You could connect accelerometers, you could connect various types of sensors, you can make it bidirectional and do network or internet communications. The possibilities are endless. Anyway, I suck. Back to the bench. So what is next? I should be working on the PS2 direct input, but it turns out that someone made a USB host library that should just fit in with my current PO and SM usage. Goodbye PS2.